his father, threatened the life of his sister. I mean, this guy just had to go. We're gonna figure out how that even happened. The last that we left off was that Deborah Newell found a bunch of papers in John's office in the apartment that they lived in together, where John would print out warnings that other women would write about him on these websites like Women Savers, and then he would ball it up and put it in the trash. We found different court documents detailing how he put a hit out onto detectives that were after him, including his ex-wife and ex-girlfriends, because he literally said, no witnesses, no trial. We saw that he was in possession of guns, zip ties, cyanide. I mean, just everything perfect for a psychopath's kid, okay? So Deb saw all of this, and in today's episode, I'm going to tell you how the heck this woman took it back. Remember, I said that Deb's upbringing taught her extreme forgiveness and just accepting everybody and seeing everybody worthy of love and seeing the good in people, no matter how bad they are. It is so dangerous, and we're gonna talk about that. But first, how are you? I hope that you are doing so well. You guys, yesterday the craziest thing happened with my car. I went to go leave for work, and I went to try to open up my door, and everything was dead. My car was totally dead. Come to find out, I left my lights on all day, all afternoon, all night, and yeah, it was totally dead. Somebody actually tried to come knock on my door, and I remember this. I was already in my bed, in my cozy bed. I was like, go away. I stayed completely silent, and then they left, and now I'm like, okay, the next time this happens, I'm gonna just, maybe I won't open the door, but I'll go check on my car after. I had my most amazing neighbors help me out, and I had to get a new battery and everything. One thing that I like about these situations, even though they're totally bad, is that now I know how to replace my car battery. Now I know how to do certain things. Even in this apartment, I live alone. When something goes wrong, I used to kind of panic before because I didn't know what to do, but now if something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, I got it. Just gives you this confidence, and I love it. I actually want to learn how to change my tire, but this, I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, let's freaking dive into Filthy John. Alright, so now Deb and the girls are at this apartment, and they're packing up, okay, because John is he's stuck in the hospital for a back surgery and a bowel obstruction. All types of things are coming his way, so he's stuck in the hospital for about 23 days. This is the perfect time to get out. They neatly put away John's stuff in the garage because they don't want to piss him off anymore, and they take Deb's stuff out. Deb, she starts to live out of hotels. She travels anyway for her business, Ambrosia Designs, an interior design business that she started. And she talks to an investigator, and they do a background search on John, and they're like, woman, you are in danger. We're afraid that this guy's gonna do something to you. I mentioned before previously where the lawyer started to, tell her, okay, we need to work on your will, take him out of the will, send him proof that he's no longer in the will so that he doesn't try to come after you once he gets out the hospital to take your money, because this man knows that you're pulling away, you're separating. She started to wear dark wigs, change up her routine, where she would go for her coffee, which she would do around town. She had to change it all up, stop wearing those flashy outfits, and start wearing more normal bland attire so that you can blend in. Study the crowd. I mean, this was something out of a movie. Can you imagine living like that? Actually, no, because it would be so scary if I ever actually had to live like that. I wouldn't want to go anywhere. Anyways, so lives. So she took him back secretly, and she would go and visit him, the daughters not knowing what she was doing. Took her about 2 months to find a new place for them to move into, and yeah, they started shacking up together and living together again. Deb is with Daryl one day, and Deb suddenly gets all of these text messages, and Daryl's like, oh, is that who I think it is? Is that John? And Deb was like, yeah, it's John. We're back together. And her family was furious. They were like, what? You had to have disguises. Pay attention to where you're going. Live out of hotels. This man has threatened people's lives. What are you thinking? I mean, it even pushed Deb's mom to the point where Deb's mom was praying to God to get rid of this man. Now we know that we know because of how I said how she was so forgiving and still loving of Billy. She didn't have it in her the second time. I guess this was the limit. Because she said this man being in our lives has fractured our family so much. We're not getting together to do family things anymore. He has to go. Out of every paycheck you have, Deb is sending a couple $1,000s secretly to her daughters, to a friend, just to kind of stash away some money of her own money from this man. So now Deb starts to really feel the consequences of taking this man back, and she becomes isolated. Her kids stopped talking to her for months. She wasn't able to see her grandkids for some time, and she's somebody who really does value family and has such a close relationship, talking to her daughters a few times every day. So this is a real pain. And John saw this, obviously, and he would always kind of bring up, I have this debilitating disease that's only going to get worse. You're not going to abandon me. We're married. You can't abandon me alone to deal with this. So Deb, he knew exactly where to actually feared for her life. When these two left, he told his secretary or his assistant, he said, her life is in danger, and that man, John, has killer instincts, which he was right on the money. So the lawyer started to prepare financial papers that he was to send John, and he said he feels like John is gonna try to do something to get him fired, to get this whole post-nuptial agreement deal that's happening thrown out, and he just knew it. So he sent in the financial papers, but John also wanted proof against a woman in his past that he wasn't lying about something that he did to her, to prove to Deb, because Deb had found something, amongst his papers pertaining to this woman. So the lawyer was gathering up emails and different things, to help John or try to help John. But when John got the papers and all the emails, he said, I don't have enough information here on this woman for a lawsuit. And then he started to get even angry and angrier. He stalled on the financial papers that he was supposed to sign and send back to the lawyer for the post-nuptial agreement. And he began insulting him, saying that you're a crook, you're just trying to take our money, you don't know what you're doing, this lawsuit should have been filed, this is, you're bogus. Yelling, getting angrier and angrier. And, John told him, you're fired, which is exactly what the lawyer thought that he would try to do. He said, you're fired. He said, I want my $25,000 back. And the lawyer said, okay, John, you're telling me that you're done with me, but what does Deb think about this? John said, well, we're married. My wife has nothing to do with this. You're fired. This lawyer said, I'm not going to give you your full $25,000 back, John, because I actually did do some work for you. I have the proof that I did work for you, so I'm going to have to calculate the hours that I worked on your case and bill you for that, and then I will refund you the remainder. And John said, oh no, the heck you won't. You're gonna give me $25,000 back. Now if I don't have that $25,000 back, you're gonna have a problem on your hands. I'm gonna report you to the bar and everything. So the lawyer actually began to bring a shotgun with him to work, okay, because he knew that a man like this, with John's temperament and those killer instincts, you don't want a man like this out there in the world with you on his mind, thinking that you're stealing from him and you're doing something against him because he's gonna come after you. Started bringing a shotgun to work. And he said, you know what, I have a staff to pay. I have to keep the lights on in this building. I have my family to protect. My address and all my information is on the court documents. It's very easy to access. This guy has been here, so this is not worth it. He actually did end up refunding him the full $25,000. And guess what? Just a couple weeks later, John still reported him to the bar. So, after John reported him to the bar, he decided to go to Ambrosia Designs, to the office, and Deb was actually open to meeting her. He was only open to meeting her specifically because she was not a threat. She was the sweetest person. She was always very patient, much like Deb, willing to talk, to try to understand people. And but Tara herself was incredibly afraid to the point where she would hide knives around her apartment, and she would also carry a knife around with her. So they met up for a chat, but it went nowhere. Okay, it just solidified in her mind that John is trouble. So it got to the point where Deb was actually starting to be afraid of John. Finally, like, the danger receptors started to turn on, and she was afraid of John, for her life. But sometimes they would go to the dog park to walk the dog, and Deb would see this woman that would always smile at John. And she said, "Who is this woman?" Similar. Remember in the first part of this thing, I mentioned that there was a woman that was in Deb's apartment wearing her dress, sipping some drink, looking out the window, and John basically attacked her and told Deb to call the police. And Deb said, "I actually wonder if John knows this woman. Did he set this entire thing up?" spit on it. Ew, so gross. And then she sent him some stuff too, you know, just like going back and forth. I just can't, I can't. And he told her, he said, you know, you should find the highest building and jump off of it, and your mom and I will laugh. You don't have a mom anymore. Mommy doesn't want you. I mean, the most disgusting things. And little did he know that when he sent that thing about jumping off the building, Deb was right next to Jacqueline, and she read it. And she said, you know, that for her was the last straw. I mean, out of everything. But this, honestly, was like, how could you talk to my daughter like this, you know? It truly disgusted her. So, they were only married for 1 year and 3 months at this point. And John actually found $30,000 in cash at the bottom of Deb's closet because Deb, you know, would stack some cash away, keeping it hidden from him. And when she got home, he confronted her. And he said, what is this? Putting the money in front of her. What is this? What do you think you're doing? And she said, well, that's my money. I could do whatever I want. And he said, we're married, honey. What's yours is mine. And she said, no, what was mine before you is still mine. And he got angry. And he said, you know what? Hit me. Come on, hit me. Hit me, because if you hit me, I will make sure that you never get up again. And she said, John, I'm not going to hit you. I'm done. I want a divorce. She grabbed her stuff, said, I'm leaving. She made a point to say that she grabbed a shoe, grabbed one shoe, and left. And I'm actually surprised that, as psychopathic as he is, knowing that this woman that gave him this lifestyle and is rich, and I don't know, I'm actually surprised that he let her leave. Thank God he did, but it would terrify me to be alone in a room with a man like that. And I'm telling him I'm leaving, I want a divorce. Am I gonna be able to get out the door? Like, this is what I'm like, oh my goodness. Thank God she was able to get out. So with the lawyer, she filed a restraining order against John. Now, in order to file a restraining order in the family courts, you have to prove that this person can actually act on what they are threatening to do to you. It has to be an emergency, apparently, and the fact that he never actually hit her or did anything physical to her, she just couldn't get the restraining order that easily. And he also was living in another state in Nevada, so to them they were like, okay, we can't just give you an emergency restraining order. So she spoke to another lawyer, and whatever he told her made her feel that she should go and see him, I guess, to try to still get the annulment for the marriage. And she drove down to Nevada and they talked, and he didn't want to give her the annulment. She even said, you know, John, if we just get this annulment, maybe we can start over, maybe we can start fresh, because she thought that maybe John would fall for this. But John is evil, but he's smart, and he wasn't falling for it. He said, no, you're not going to give me another chance. But I'm still not trying to let you go that easily. And somehow, some way, even with all of this and the threats against her and everything, she still ended up sleeping in the same house as him on a mattress on the floor. So now that restraining order definitely wasn't going to get grounded. Now, in addition to all of this drama, he also sent a message to the nephew, because now John was in a rage. He was in a war against his entire family, because to him, they stopped him from the life that he could have had with Deb. So the nephew is than you, Deb. And then, you know, before he would say, you're so beautiful, I love you, I would never cheat on you or anything, he sent her messages with him and his ex. And he called Deb, you know, fat and old, you're an old bag, and just trying to do the most insulting, you know, trying to send the most insulting messages ever just to get at her. And she blocked him, which made him even more angry. So what does he do? He's actually caught on surveillance camera where he steals Deb's car and then he tries to light it on fire, but everything was rolled up and basically the fire put itself out because of the oxygen levels. And he left the car, and then you see him on surveillance hiding behind the bushes watching this before he runs away. Then Deb comes out to go to her car. Car's not there, calls the cops. They find the car not that far away. Then they figure out that it's John that did this. And when confronted, John said, I didn't set the fire, but Deb told me I could take the car, but I returned it. And I don't know what happened after that. Okay, well, that's enough. So this actually helped in Deb being able to obtain a restraining order, because now this is actually a step further. He's never done anything like this. He's never done anything like this. Everything has been his words. Jacqueline actually ended up buying a Smith & Wesson pistol to arm and protect herself just in case a psychopath came back. Because remember, John doesn't believe in going after the person that he has the problem with. He believes in going after the family, that mafia mentality. Time has passed, right, between the separation and when he starts to come after the family. Like, months have passed at this point. Jacqueline, along with her friend, pull into her parking lot, and she was able to spot John. Now, John thought that he was, you know, hiding himself a little bit. Now, when he saw that she saw him, he pulled off, and he actually even broke out the lights so that, you know, it would be harder for them to see him in the license plate and everything. So he actually pulled out, and she yelled to her friend, drive, go after him, but they actually ended up losing him. Now we're talking, this is around midnight, and she drives over to Tara's apartment. She's trying to call Tara. Tara's asleep, and she waits outside of her apartment just to see is John gonna be around here. Where is he gonna go next? And then she goes up to Tara's apartment and she listens near the door, and you know, Tara has a cat with a bell on it, and the cat is like moving its body on the door, so she could hear the little the jingle bells jingling, and she thinks, okay, she's okay, Tara's okay. So the next morning she calls Tara and she says, be careful, I saw John in my parking lot. We went after him, but he got away. And at this point, they didn't even want to really bother calling the police necessarily, because the was trapped in this, I guess, bathroom or closed closeted area, and the zombie was trying to get in and attack them, and they had to fight their way out, and they had a knife, and the way that they positioned the knife in their hand was in a way where you have to grip it in a way that when you are going for your intended target, it's not going to cut you. You know, you can have a good grip on it. And so they opened the door, and Tara saw exactly where they targeted to take this thing out, apparently, like through the eyes, the way to get to the brain and make, you know, just basically end the threat. So this is what Tara saw in season 2 of The Walking Dead, and there's something about watching something a few times that it programs you, and you probably even surprised. I'm sure this even happened in your lives, you know, not different things, thank goodness, okay, but where you're watching something, you're probably surprised, like, oh, I'm actually doing this pretty well, because it was programmed in you from watching something. So this is exactly what happened with Tara. So she learned her knife work from this, and even the power of being on your back. You never want to be on your stomach if somebody's attacking you, of course, I mean, but the power of being on your back and being able to use your legs to defend yourself, and how important it is to use your arm, block your heart, okay? Don't leave this space open. Block your heart, block the vital organs, grip the knife properly. The Walking Dead saved Tara's life. So mind you, she had her dog with her. The dog's a little dog, and she let the leash of the dog go because she just wanted the dog to be able to get away, get to safety. Didn't want John to do anything, but this little dog protected Tara so much. It's like giving me chills. How, oh my goodness, the dog started to attack John and go for his ankles, tore him up pretty well actually, and she had a bag that she also held over herself, so her arm is over this, and you know, the bag is kind of shielding her as well. And she thought that John was punching her. John wasn't punching her. John was attacking her with the knife, this big steak knife, okay? She had about, I think, a 1-inch wound on her arm, but thank goodness, because if that arm wasn't there. Okay, so she was able somehow to get the knife out of John's hand, and I'm gonna let her explain it before I even go any further. Tara seemed to always have this, I don't even know how to describe it, but like premonitions. She would have dreams, and somehow these dreams would come true. Tara had a premonition of the exact scene that happened with John. She had a dream that she was being attacked, and she went through the eye, and that's how she took John out. This happened maybe a few weeks or so before the incident actually happened, and I don't know what you believe or whatever. I do believe that God protected her. I think it's the only way. There is no actual logical reason as to how she was able to overpower, get that knife from him, fight this big man, and survive and walk away from this. I really feel like she was being prepared for what was to come, and this isn't the first time that I've heard of somebody who was able to survive dangerous people because they watched crime shows. Like I said, the NCIS shows, the Law and Order shows how to get away from a kidnapper, how to befriend and humanize yourself to somebody who's not well, who's sick, and get away. I mean, these shows, like, you don't think about it because we watch it as entertainment almost, but if anybody's found themselves in those actual real positions in real life, she's letting people know that this man attacked me, this is self-defense, and that's my stepdad. She said, please do not revive him. He is a bad man. He will try to take you out. Do not try to revive him. But the person helping him didn't listen, and they were able to get John to breathe again. But at this point, John was actually, in fact, brain dead. And the ambulance came, took her away, and it was actually pretty traumatic, she says, because Tara has gone through really difficult things pertaining to assault in her past, and her dog is her protector. She feels safe with her dog, and she said, I don't want you to touch me, I don't want you to do anything, just make sure my dog is with me, please. If my dog is with me in this ambulance, I will let you do whatever you have to do, okay? And so they listened to her. And the thing is that Tara was actually, before this happened, Tara was actually was supposed to be on her way to a Jason Aldean concert, and she was in such a state of shock that her mind and her body, they didn't catch up, and her mind wasn't even there, really. And she said, well, can I still make it to the concert? You think I can make it to the concert? And they were like, sweetie, no. Okay, no. But they put on some country music in the ambulance to help relax her. When she got to the hospital, they were taking things off, trying to check her for the wounds, and although they were trying to help her to save her life, it sent her back into a state of helplessness and shock. They didn't ask for any consent, they just were everywhere, and she was crying and freaking out. She wanted her mom couldn't be there with her. I mean, it made me cry because you think about it, in these situations where people actually have wounds and need to be attended to, these are professionals, but they don't think, let me ask for consent and consider that you may have actually been a victim of some form of abuse before, and how me touching you and helping you, trying to save your life, taking that out, how this could re-traumatize you. So Tara was being re-traumatized, even in this place where she knew the people were trying to save her life, okay? Which taught me something new. It's just incredible. It's really emotional hearing that. So she got her dog with her. She's in the hospital, and then, finally her sisters come and they can see her, but Jacqueline is always fighting with somebody. Jacqueline didn't even go see her sister because she was fighting with the police officers. And then Tara found out that, John, he wasn't gonna make it, but he was being kept alive so that his organs could be donated. But when they went to try to, get the organ stuff, they realized that his body was just in such bad shape from all the drugs he did for all of the years. I mean, he was deteriorating, really. He was just really sick, so I don't think anything really got donated. I don't know. But anyways, Deb had to go and make the decision to take him off of the machine and everything. And Deb didn't want to take this responsibility. She actually gave it to his sister. I believe it was Donna, the one that always tried to help, and then it ended up threatening her life. And Donna said, pull the plug. Now, she also had to go and be there when he was cremated and stuff, but when it came to John's family and Tara, the sisters thanked her. Thank you. They knew that their brother, it was only going to get worse. He was going to take somebody's life, so by Tara defending herself and taking him out, she saved people that could have lost their lives because of John, because now he reached a whole new level that he didn't before. He always threatened, but he never acted on it. This time, he was acting on it. you know, one thing that the sister did mention is that she believes that there are women out there that are still scared of John, that just don't know that he's not here anymore. She said it's possible to live in fear of somebody and not feel the protection from law enforcement because you basically haven't died yet. They haven't taken you out yet, or they haven't beat you up yet, they haven't done this to you yet. That has to be the most isolating, scariest feeling that I wish on nobody. I don't know, that it's not that I could never understand it, but this made me really understand the peace that you feel like there is no threat on my life out there anymore. Yeah, that brings you peace, which is what everybody had when this man was gone. But you know, one important thing Tara said is that when it came to fighting for her life, she was fighting against a man that wasn't her direct abuser. If it was her direct abuser, her body may have just shut down and gone into a mode to protect itself, which would have cost her life, which is so important. I was like, wow, that's so true. But because she has something to fight for, and it wasn't her abuser, she was fighting in her mind to protect her mother and to protect her family, because if it's not taken care of here, her family's in danger, especially her mother. That's what gave her that extra strength to give it everything she had and take this man out. And when you hear her talk about it, sometimes when you hear the family talk about it, you hear like chuckles and some, you know, like, but to hear her talk about it and how she is still dealing with the PTSD, that entire situation. Wow. Good riddance. Dirty, filthy John. Good riddance. Thank you so much for sticking with me and watching this video. Oh my goodness, I'm looking at my thing, it's like an hour. I cannot wait to see you in my next video. Okay. Bisous. So, Tara actually was so into The Walking Dead with her boyfriend that there actually exists a zombie apocalypse store in Las Vegas, and she went to the store